Hey, everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of our basically Edison match commentary series that we're doing here. Once again, I'm here with Trey. Say hi, Trey.
Howdy, howdy.
Oh, you didn't do the joke again. That's good. That's good. I was worried about that. Well, I guess you can't be too predictable. Otherwise, it's not funny anymore. What did David always say?
Repetition is the key to comedy.
You'll have to hit us with it at some point in the future again when I'm not expecting it.
Hi,
Um,
Trey.
I wasn't expecting it. um, so just for some context, usually we drop these Sunday mornings, but there was a regional yesterday that I was going to, so I didn't have time to do it yesterday. So instead we pushed it over to Monday morning today. So we're gonna drop these today. And unfortunately, because Friday you said that you didn't have your Edison locals like usual, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, we had a couple of people out of town, and other people had like half commitments to other things, and so it was just like it was only going to be like 3 or 4 of us max, and so we just decided, yeah, we'll try again next week.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So the fact that that's happening basically makes it so that we're just gonna use a different match from your locals 2 weeks ago. I know that some people were a little annoyed that it was frogs versus Blackwings. They like a little bit more complex and interesting Edison gameplay. So there will be another Blackwings in this match. But what were you playing against with this one?
Those Gladiator beasts, yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna get to see Glad Beast in action. I tend to think that Glad Beasts actually do have a pretty decent Blackwing matchup. What do you think? I guess what are your
It
feelings on
can be. It depends on their like tech cards. Like Gladiator Beast I think has the most sort of non-engine room of any Edison deck, uh, in the sense that it has a lot of different options. The issue is that uh, with Edison being as wide as it is, you start playing tech cards for everything, then it ends up being awkward because you're n- like, oh, this one tech card that you're playing for Amaryllis is terrible into Blackwings, which is only okay into Frogs, and then it's like, yeah, it ends up making all of your matches worse when you start trying to tech for specific decks. Um, so that's sort of Gladiator Beast's eternal issue. Is there's a lot of different ways to play it, and all of them are good into some things and bad into others.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I mean, it seems like a fairly dynamic deck. I guess the one problem that we'd run into really is that Chariot doesn't really do too much to Blackwings, especially when you can chain block with Whirlwind. I just, in my recent experiences with Glad Beasts, the fact that they have been playing just a regular trap hole, at least in the side, has been eternally frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, they're like I said, the deck has 100 different options on directions it could go. Obviously, an exaggeration, but it definitely has a lot of different things it can try, and some of them definitely hurt Blackwings more than others. So it kind of depends on what the GB player is expecting to play against, and they're going to tech their deck out in that way.
I do like how it has sort of one card for every situation, but let's go ahead and get into the match here so we can actually start some commentary on what's going on. Just to clarify, we are playing it in 1.75 speed as per Trey's request because apparently there was a lot of, we'll call it
There's
dialogue.
yeah, a lot of sitting and thinking.
I guess that comes with the nature of more complex matchups or when you're playing a deck that sort of has one card for every situation like Glad Beast does.
Yeah. So I think both of these games, he starts out with, I guess, spoiler for game two, starts out with normal Aquari, um, which makes sense. Two back row. I think GB is one of the decks where if they set two back row, it's not indicating that they have like Starlight Road,
Mm-hmm.
um, or a way to protect their back row. Like if they lose a War Chariot, that pretty much doesn't matter because they can just get that back whenever.
Of course.
So they're always setting like War Chariot and one other card most of the time. Uh,
Oh, I need a Book
so
of
I go
Moon.
for Whirlwind Colute here. I'm trying to play around bottomless, I believe.
Mm.
Either that or uh, yeah, because I think I also one of my set cards is Icarus Attack. Of course, I dust shoot him, and
Oh,
he doesn't have a monster.
yeah. Let's go.
So
Let's go back there and look
it
at his
does give me
hand.
information though, which is important. You'll see. So dust shoot him. It's book, D prison, Wabaku, and War Chariot
Mm.
in his hand. Um, and that'll be relevant in just a second here. You'll see.
Okay.
Okay.
So you banished your Vayu off of the Allure. You're playing two Vayu, correct?
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty typical. Yeah,
Yeah.
your allure banish is, I would say, most commonly it should be Vayu, and then sort of it, I guess, opposite order of like, I don't know how high the attack is, right? So you want to go like lowest to highest. Although Blizzard is very good, so probably Kalut is the next most common, and then Bora, then probably Sirocco after that if you have like multiple Sirocco. Um, and then Dad if you think that your hand is just like maybe Dad is one of like two dark monsters in your hand. It's pretty common to just banish it
Mm.
because at that point it's going to take too long for it to be live, or you don't even know if it will be live. Um,
Gotcha.
so
Well, so
I,
here we
I was most common.
oh,
Yeah.
here we see that Book of Moon. I mean, you know that he has two battle traps, one Moboku, one Deep Prison. You got the War Chariot to stop monster effects, which you don't care about because you've got the Whirlwind. Um,
Yeah.
but that Book of Moon means that you're guaranteed to not get another Whirlwind search in the future. Like
Right.
unless you could force that out somehow, or make him use it defensively. So we'll get back into the game. But that is an unfortunate series of circumstances to one, not only have the dust shoot not hit anything, but two, to see that there's a guaranteed, oh, I don't get to whirlwind search next turn.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is though. Okay, so I do want to pause here.
Okay.
Uh, like uh with gladiator beasts, their trap cards that they choose to play, and this player in particular, I think it probably is correct to try to play trap cards that synergize with your gladiator beasts, and that's potentially more important than playing just sort of generically good trap cards. um Cards like I mean, Call of the Haunted is a good one. Wabaku, as you saw, Book of Moon. The issue with a lot of these is that they are sort of strictly speaking minus ones. Um, and so that's one of GB's biggest issues is that like, okay, if you try to trade like one for one traps for cards, um, you can do that, but then you can run into an issue of like, okay, I ran out of I ran out of trap cards, and then opponent just has big guy, and then I just lose because they just had one more big guy than I had trap cards to deal with it.
Mm,
Once they start playing with like Book of Moons and Wabakus and stuff, they can get to like Secutor and Samnite and cards that actually like uh, make them go plus. And especially if they're able to get multiple turns where they can summon GBs and get into like Gyzaris and do that type of stuff, that's where the deck starts to sort of run out of control. And so playing these cards that sort of facilitate that better with like Wabaku and Book of Moon, um, they facilitate you getting there more so than like Deep Prison Bottomless
mm.
that don't do that. The issue ends up being though, if you don't have Gladiator Beast monsters to combo with those cards, then they just end up being minus ones. Like, yes, I don't get a Whirlwind Search off the Book of Moon, but like you did trade a card for that, and Whirlwind is still there. So definitely stuff to keep in mind.
All right. Well,
Um,
so I guess what we're assuming here is that. So what are these two sets that you have? Because I do
yeah,
wonder.
so he swung with the Laquari. My two sets are Icarus and Oppression. I definitely could have Icarus on the attack declaration here. thing is, he set 2 cards to start with,
Mhm.
um, and, one of which was Book of Moon. Uh, so it is still possible that the set card is, Starlight Road, although I guess I should be reading that it's probably Chariot. Although he has a Chariot in hand, which would mean he'd have to draw 2,
Mhm.
and most Gladiator-based beast lists are only playing, like, 2 in the main deck, sometimes only 1. Um, so I think it's a little risky. I also have a Blizzard in hand, so I think that was another reason. And then the other set is Oppression, and so I'm like, well, why would I waste an Icarus if he's just going to tag out?
That's true.
Um, so you know, I think this was a decent play.
Yeah,
Just let the attack go through.
I agree. I think it's safer because you get the guaranteed value out of the oppression, and when he sets that Book of Moon or maybe the Waboku, right, to try not to take some damage next turn, the Icarus to pop those is going to be very good because that middle set clearly hasn't done anything to you yet. And then I guess you don't really care if he Waboku's you when there's nothing on board. So you would just, I don't know. I think you don't risk the 50-50 on the Book of Moon. I think you just go for the 2 new sets that he places, right? That's what you should do.
Yeah, that's what I end up doing. Is I well, you'll see. He only sets 1 card, and
Oh, he doesn't
yeah,
try to
he
tag
does
out.
for 2. Yeah, he ended up not tagging out on purpose, which I think makes sense.
I actually
Because
agree.
yeah, he's got a big guy and he doesn't have a second Gladiator beast, so tagging out is just kind of like um, definitely risky. So I go Blizzard Chainlink 1, Whirlwind Chainlink 2, target Collude, obviously, because I don't have another target. This plays around the Chariot
And
to
the Book of Moon doesn't really do as much here because you still get the Blizzard summon if he Book of
yeah,
Moons
yeah.
the
But Book of Moon
Blizzard.
is probably just a -1. So search the value here.
So here you you could probably Icarus attack.
So it's a little awkward because
Actually, I
I
think
don't
because you have the value in hand, you probably want to save the Icarus attack for when you summon that, right?
well, I do end up using the Icarus attack because I'm gonna have to use it regardless.
Hmm.
He's gonna, swing with the Laquari. I end up going to battle here and trying to swing with the Blizzard. Basically, try to bait out anything,
Hmm.
and then I just Icarus in the battle step. Um, just see if he'll bite. Um, he didn't because he's a good player,
Yeah.
but it's one of those things that you try to. So I'm rolling a dice because I know from the dust shoot those 2 cards are not very good,
Hmm.
or are good
Uh,
targets for Icarus.
at least one of them is a good Icarus target. The other we don't know anything about.
Yeah, so I don't want to target the one unknown, which could be like Dust Tornado or MST. So yeah,
So now he has set 4 pass.
yeah. So he just didn't draw a guy here, which is an issue
That's real
for
bad for Glad
Gladiator Beast,
Beasts, yeah.
definitely. I mean, it happens. So I end up just going ahead and swinging. This is where the oppression comes down, is
Yep.
on the Call of the Haunted, and I guess it's not a Dust Tornado that was set.
Well,
I
it
don't
couldn't be
actually
because
know if
he
I end
top
up.
decked the Call of the Haunted, right? Because we know what.
Well,
Oh,
no,
oh,
no,
I
no.
see. The one that was
He would have
already
used
set.
it.
The one that was already set. I see.
Yes, the one that was already set. Um,
I guess.
so end up going for the legacy and main phase 2 here because I figured at that point I want to get more back row to do try to protect what's on board here. Uh, so yeah, it just kind of turns into Kaloot beats for a little bit.
I mean, that's one way to win.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If he just doesn't draw a guy, that middle set still hasn't been activated. I don't.
I'm assuming that it is a War Chariot, right? Because he kept one in hand. We know that that he didn't draw that War Chariot for turn because when you dust shoot it, he drew the Book of Moon for turn.
Yeah,
And you're not going to double
it's
set
hard
both
to
War
think about
Chariot
like
turn
what else
one.
it could. Yeah, what else it could even be at this point. Um, yeah.
Maybe bottomless, which you haven't played into yet.
So I set the yeah, that's true. So I did set the value, and I'm flipping it here. I'm
Mm,
trying to play around torrential while still basically getting bodies on board.
of course.
Because this turns into a 2-turn clock rather than a 1-turn or a 3-turn clock. So
Jesus
I believe I
Christ.
do have. Yeah, he's just got a bunch of back row. Um, I believe I have like a Bora or a Shura in hand, and I just didn't want to commit it to the field because of a potential torrential, which why I'm basically just sticking with small guys. Um,
I mean, it's working. He had to
yeah,
Waboku there. He's at 1600 off of just like
yeah. So
value
that
Kalute beatdown.
yeah, this is what I was talking about earlier with like the Gladiator Beast like combo traps and combo cards. Like Book of Moon and Wabaku are all like they're good cards, but they are. So this is main phase two. I end up going for the Bora. Um, I think I just wanted to get value out of the Whirlwind eventually because I believe I have more summons
Oh,
at this point.
is that Judgment? Oh, oh my
Yeah, he
God.
judgment. Well, it was an 800 life point judgment,
Yeah.
so like that's not that crazy.
That's just like what a
Um,
horrible late game draw there, and it feels really bad to Judgment a Bora normal summon.
I mean, if he doesn't draw a guy, like it doesn't really matter. Um, yeah. So
Yeah, there's just kind of a lot of floating here, waiting for stuff to happen.
yeah,
That is the
he
nature of
was
one of those Edison
notably
format type thing. Oh,
notably down to 800 here. Okay, so this is an interesting decision point here. Since he's down at 800, I know that he can't oppression.
mhm.
Um, so he's trying to compulse the Sirocco. Uh, this
You do
may have
really
been
want the Whirlwind Search.
well, the whirlwind search isn't going to happen,
Yeah.
but you'll see what I end up doing. I
Ooh.
end up torrentialing my own field because I know I have my value in the graveyard.
Yeah.
I also have a Bora in hand as well. Um, so I go for the armed wing here. Um, that could have been bottomless, and that would have been bad. At the same time, he is at 800 life points, and I have oppression.
Yeah.
So like I don't know that he's getting back into this. I end up
This.
specialing the Bora because obviously Deep Prison is a card.
Oh. Well, Mirror Force is a card too.
Yeah, but
You didn't need the Mirror Force. Honestly,
I,
I think you just let the Sirocco get bounced, right? And then you just
yeah.
battle with Kalud. He's at 800.
So card advantage wise, yes. At the same time, oh, you know what it was? My last set card was Judgment. That's why I was making those plays.
That's well, so that's why I was thinking you could if you just Judgment that Compulse, you're adding to hand anyway, and you can add like a
Um,
Blizzard or a Gale or some shit, and then next turn you're
well, so
popping
my
off.
worry was that if I Judgment there, um, uh, on his compulse, is that I go for Gale, special Gale, and then he could potentially torrential me,
Well, you just
there.
don't special gear there. You literally just battle because he's at 800. Kalute, Sirocco by themselves are going to be enough. Like if he has to if he has to deprison one of them, the other one gets through. And if he doesn't deprison, he just mirror forces, and you're like, okay, summon armed wing on main phase two.
Yeah, I think it was probably an unlosable position regardless. I think maybe I was just going for flare points.
That's fair, and I mean, it clearly worked. So
Yeah, at that point, like he was so far behind card advantage wise and just things to do. So okay, so he sets 3 here. I think Gladiator Beast players should probably stop doing this with Starlight Road.
mhm.
Like I know the card like protects your back row, but when you set 3 cards,
It really
unless one
telegraphs.
of them is Dust Shoot, it's like super duper telegraphed that one of them is Starlight Road. Because like the thing is against Gladiator Beast players, they always set 2 because one of them's War Chariot and then one of them's some other trap card, and if they set 3, it's like, oh well, okay, now it's there's a Starlight Road back there. Um, I think it's just way too telegraphed when there's when they do it this way. So
Well, so that's the interesting thing, right? Is it telegraphed or is he bluffing it? Now
I
it's
mean,
probably telegraphed, right? But I do think that bluffing is a really, really important skill to have in Edison format. I mean, when you brought me to that tournament for the first time, like I had never played Edison before outside of like a scrimmage match that I did against RJB0 at the intercollegiate. So I had so little Edison format knowledge, experience, and I was constantly doing the set 4 or like set 3 normal one pass stuff, right? Totally playing into heavy every single time, and people never heavied me. People never punished me for it, and I think it's because they thought that I would only do that if I felt comfortable, like setting judgment or setting Starlight Road. When really I just had no idea what I
okay,
was doing.
I want to pause it here.
Okay, okay. So yeah, let's
Yeah.
go back.
So
Well, so let's
um,
discuss what's happened. So up to this point, he's
I mean,
of
nothing's
course
happened.
set
We've been.
3. You've summoned Sirocco, and you've set 3
Yeah, I think this
also.
was like the only like big decision point was whether or not to attack with Sirocco, and I think the answer is just flat out no. Like I haven't one of those set cards I believe is Icarus, so I definitely want that card to be live. And if I attack, then it's just not live. Uh, if he has like a D prison or a Wabaku set, because the Wabaku will just he'll make Laquari into Murillo. Um, and pop the Sirocco there.
Hmm.
So before that, I ended up just going normal Sirocco set 3 pass. I think that's almost always correct against Gladiator Beast. You don't want to play into their game, um, but yeah, with respect to the sort of bluffing discussion, um, I think a lot of Gladiator Beast players just are pretty telegraphed about the way that they play it. Um, and
It is a pretty
I
telegraphed deck. Like you don't necessarily have the luxury of bluffing the same way that you would with like a Blackwing or a Hero Beat
I mean,
because
they can just set one real trap card and Starlight Road and just hold the War Chariot.
yeah, of course.
Uh, so uh, just my take on it because I think people have sort of wised up. They're just never going to Heavy Storm and just give you a free Starlight Road.
Mhm.
Um, Gladiator Beast specifically. There are only a few decks that like I think X Saber. Well, X Saber sometimes runs Starlight Road as well. So okay, so I do want to pause here. Um,
Oh
actually,
man.
we'll let the let's let the chain link play out,
Okay.
and then we can talk about it after. Yeah. Okay. So chain link 1, Test Tiger. Chain link 2, Oppression. Chain link 3, Twister. Target the Oppression. And then you'll see I do a think here, but I'm gonna go chain link 4, Icarus whenever I decide to do that. I target the 2 cards, Chainlink 5 Road, and then Chainlink 6 Solemn Judgment.
Gotcha.
So let's go ahead and pause it here. Um, so from my perspective, uh, I think I'm supposed to. So I know that I have the Icarus attack. I also know, and like I also know that uh, if I Icarus attack whatever his test tiger target is, will just go to the graveyard and he doesn't get to summon from deck. I also know that he very likely has a Starlight Road back there because, and I've been playing around him having Starlight Road this whole game. Um, so I think uh, if I'm expecting that he has a Starlight Road back there, I can't realistically play around Trap Stun all that well. I also can't realistically. Well, so you saw I had a Judgment, so I can play around one Trap Stun or one Judgment, but I can't really play around both. Um, so well, I guess I can play around trap stun by judgmenting the trap stun, but I can't uh, play around if he has judgment. So if he has judgment for my judgment, I do just lose the exchange. So uh, sort of what I need to realize there is that the oppression kind of needs to check the Starlight Road so that I still have judgment to check his trap stun or his judgment. If he wants to uh, do it that way.
I
So,
suppose it
like
makes
for
sense.
example, what should have happened here was I go. So he goes test tiger. I let the test tiger go through. He goes test tiger effect. Target the Sam Knight. I should go chain link 2 Icarus. Target his 2 monsters.
Hmm.
Then when he goes chain link 3 Starlight Road, I should go chain link 4
Oppression.
uh, oppression, pay the 8 there, so that then if he has judgment for the oppression, or if he has trap stun for the oppression, or if he has twister, then I have judgment for that. And then by the end of the chain link, I get to keep the oppression. So definitely a missequencing there on my end,
Wait,
especially
why would you get
since
to keep the oppression?
because
Just
I negated the card that would have stopped it.
the twister?
So what should have happened here is he goes test tiger chainlink 1.
Hmm.
I go Icarus chainlink 2, target is 2 monsters. Chainlink 3 Starlight Road. Chainlink 4 My Oppression. Chainlink 5 Twister. Chainlink
I see.
6 Judgment. Now if he has chainlink 7 Judgment there, uh yeah, congrats. Better player. If he has trap stun and judgment there, also, congrats. Better player. Um, but I think definitely having sequenced it in that order, like there's no reason for me to be, oppression his test tiger effect here. Um, Especially because or since I know I'm going to be using that Icarus attack, because I know those back row are real, like they're going to be interacting with what I'm doing. So I need that oppression to check the Starlight Road that he's been telegraphing since the beginning. So yeah, and that's another thing I guess to point out with like continuous traps is uh, since I used oppression earlier in the chain link, I don't get to use it later in the chain link. Um, like I don't just get to oppression the test tiger, and then when he flips the Starlight Road later, I don't get to pay another 8. Uh, since I am flipping it now, if it was already flipped at that point and had successfully, activated, uh, and resolved and stayed on the field, then I would be able to pay the 8 for the test tiger and for the Starlight Road, but like in the same chain link. But when you flip it like that, you only get to use it the first
Of
time there.
course, of course.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, hindsight's obviously 2020, and Edison format in particular. It's really difficult to make a series of perfectly correct decisions, especially when you're staring down 5 back row. The first thing you're not thinking about is, oh, how can I play around Twister? Like,
Well, it's not just Twister that you're playing around though,
you're
right? You're
playing on the
playing around
Starlight Road,
MFT,
and
Dust
yeah.
Tornado, Trap Stun, Judgment. Like you're playing around a lot of different cards there.
Well, I guess
Um,
the oppression decision seems completely fine, right? Because oppressioning that and he chains the twister seems completely reasonable. Right? Because what you do is you try to get your value out of the oppression by chaining the Icarus attack to force out a Starlight Road, where you can then oppression again. The issue is that what you did was you used judgment when you didn't need to. You could have just chained the oppression again.
no, no, no. I can't chain the oppression again here.
Why not? It's not a it's a once per chain?
Yeah, no, that's no, oppression isn't it. The card has not successfully activated
Ah,
and resolved, so
I
you
see.
aren't able to use it later in the. Yeah, that's what I was trying to explain earlier. guess I didn't do the best job of it there. No, I don't get to oppression that Starlight Road because I used the oppression earlier in the chain link. It
Gotcha.
has to have already successfully resolved in order for you to use it multiple times in a chain.
Gotcha. Okay. I guess that is problematic. In that case, why wouldn't you just go judgment effect
On what?
on the twister? Like if you had already played
Um,
this, right? If you had already played it like this, like if you've already activated the oppression early, why wouldn't you just judgment the twister and basically put him on using his own copy of judgment, where then you know that you're completely safe on the Icarus attack, right? Unless
I
he
s-
has the Starlight Road. But at that point, he's already losing a bunch of back row, and it kind of puts him on gotta have it. And on top of
well,
that, he would need exactly judgment to stop your judgment.
I mean,
Oppression's
at
more
that point,
important.
if he has judgment and twister, I lose the exchange regardless of how I play it.
Exactly.
Uh, so
You might as well keep more
I
cards.
well, no. I lose that exchange regardless of how I play it because then his test tiger goes through. He goes for bestiary, pops some cards. It like if he has Twister, Starlight Road, and Judgment set, I'm losing this exchange regardless of how I go about it. So no, I mean no real point in analyzing it.
I guess it's true.
Um, yeah,
Oh, well, you guys even have
but
a little dialogue about how you can't chain the oppression thing.
yeah, but the way that that I did go about it, definitely I could have saved the oppression and I didn't. So that one's definitely on me. Uh, he's out of guys though. Well, or he will be out of guys though after this turn. I think he's about to summon his second Sam Knight, and I'm just gonna bottomless it whenever he stops looking at all of his cards.
Well, he's back down to no monsters and a series of spells and trap cards. So we're starting to see shades of game one here, and it really comes down to whoever top decks better first. Well, speaking of, here comes a monster. There goes the bottomless. So it's starting
Yeah,
to get into a real slog fest here of who's going to be drawing better cards. You have a handful of monsters, it seems like. Like I definitely see a
yeah.
Shura in there, right?
I I think I don't want to commit the Shura because I don't have an Icarus attack to punish anything. So, uh, I think I end up. How do I end up going about this? I think I end up summoning like. Oh, so I blind MST first, because and I go for the Vayu because I have a Sirocco in the graveyard,
Mm-hmm.
and so I figure even if he does walk over it, at least I have something to do. And then I think I had a Kalut in hand. I think my hand is like Kalut plus, or it was like Kalut Vayu Shura, and I didn't want to commit the Shura. Shura would have just gotten deprisoned there, and that would have been rough. So set the dust, hit the new set. That's pretty normal. I believe I drew a another Shura there, which is why I felt comfortable
Well,
going ahead and
there's the trap hole. So he's got two cards in hand. You've got Shura. Should you be
yeah.
attacking here? So that was the perfect. Yep, there we go.
Well,
So
so I have a Kalut in hand, so I felt okay about it. Um, I think I also I kind of forgot that I didn't have a Vayu in deck anymore because I think I uh, sided out the second copy, which is like fine and normal. But I guess I didn't need to attack, but also like a lot of Gladiator Beast players don't play Gores, although the ones that do, it definitely like can come out of nowhere. So because like they play a lot of back row. Obviously, you saw he had like 5 set back row. Why are you playing Gores in a set 5 back row? But it makes some sense in GBs because it's like if you fall behind, Gores is one of like few comeback cards that can actually get you back into the game. Um, GBs is definitely one of those decks that you start to fall behind on advantage. There's just no more Yu-Gi-Oh to be played. At the same time, GBs is one of those decks where it's like once you get ahead, it just is basically unlosable. You just infinite uh, guys and infinite war chariots, and you yeah. So
Well,
I
so
think attacking here is fine. I mean, he has been top decking, so it's like, is he really going to top deck two out of those two cards in his hand? And he's got what 25 ish cards left in deck. Like, is it really going to be Gores?
that you think?
It is
I
pretty
guess
tough, but
I guess it could be 25. That just looks a little big for 25. But yeah, I mean his graveyard's pretty loaded at this point. Yeah, I guess it makes sense. Two cards in hand. I don't know. I mean, I guess if you have the clue, it's fine. But I would encourage all duelists at this venture in their matches in Edison if they see that this is the circumstances and they don't feel comfortable or they're thinking, okay, well, Gores here would suck, right? Don't just attack blindly into an empty board because sure, statistically it's unlikely that they have a Gores because it's a one of, but at the same time your opponent is always going to have cards. Like they have to have cards. If you see two cards in their hand, there are cards there. And if those cards weren't played on field, there's reasons for that, right? Maybe they're holding resources, maybe it's monsters that they can't commit to the board, or it's cards that they can't commit to the board, or maybe it's a card like a Gores. So yeah, I don't know. I
well,
guess evaluate.
GB is also like it could just as easily be like Test Tigers or like War Chariots or something. Like there are very reasonable cards that you just don't set. Uh, so I think that's the other thing. And then GBs in general is a deck that doesn't play Gore super often. Uh, so
I guess it's easy to not expect it or to be like,
yeah,
he doesn't have Gores, whatever.
he's also at 7,500 life points, so it's like,
You got to start poking.
yeah, got to put the clock on him eventually. So
And here, you know, here you get to punish the Gores with the Kalut. Yep.
well, only a little bit. He takes the 14, but
Hmm. And so Shura doesn't summon from deck here because it wasn't a monster that he destroyed, right? It was a token.
so Shura has to send the monster to graveyard.
Oh,
So
I
yeah,
see. I see. Okay.
yeah.
Well, so if you
And
shifter, you get shifter, Shura doesn't even work.
yeah, I mean, I guess so. Okay, so here's his misplay. You'll see what happens. Um, so he has one set card and one Gores. So at this point, I'm looking at his graveyard, trying to figure out like, what his back row could be
Mhm.
and what punishes me.
What is your hand at this point in time?
So I have a second Kalut in hand at the moment. Um,
Hmm.
so he lets that through, uh, take some damage, and then I have to go for Gale because I don't have another value.
Yeah.
Um, swing with the Gale. He takes another 13. I just make Armor Master as
Hmm.
a big guy.
Which is armor
Uh,
master, like a hard made armor master is very good into Glad Beasts.
yeah, it can be. It can be. Definitely put it in attack though, because if you put it in defense, they'll just swing into it
Yeah.
and tag and do all their stuff. So he sets the monster, passes. I'm still trying to figure out like what his back row could be, and like clearly it's not a bottomless. He would have just bottomless the Armor Master. Um, it could still be like Compulse. That would hurt. Um, I don't know. I'm essentially sitting here trying to figure out what it is. Ends up being a Snowman Eater that set. I set a back row pass.
What could his
Uh,
set card be? I wonder. Maybe it's a
I
chariot.
could just. I think I thought it was Starlight Road. Is like not that crazy
Hmm.
to have set, especially for Gladiator beasts if they're trying to set up like a later Icarus attack type situation.
Yeah.
So I go for Blizzard here. So he's at 2,500 life points.
Hmm.
I could go for Android by like going for Kalut, but I end up deciding that I I basically am sitting here trying to figure out what his back row is, and I end up deciding, I'll just go for the Goyo because
Yeah. Just go for
like
game.
yeah, just go for game. Like I'm basically trying to sit there and figure out like is Cataster better? Is like does that play around anything else? But I end up just deciding no. Like all my
You're
synchro
up one game as
monsters.
well, so you might as well put it on. He's got to have it, right? So there's the
So
Wogo.
it's a Waboku. And then we talked about it afterwards. It was like, I'm sitting there like, wait, why didn't you use that on? And he's like, oh, wait,
Yeah,
yeah,
because
I
then
should have
yeah,
done that.
because
Because
if he
now,
uses the Waboku when you attack with Shura into the gores,
yeah, I end up
yeah,
having to, I'm like boned there. So yeah, I definitely, I have to essentially just use the Kalut to save the Shura, or I just let the Shura die.
yeah,
Um, and that definitely, so he mentioned about it afterwards, is that Wabaku is like one of those cards that you intend to like work with your gladiator
of
beasts,
course.
and so he just wasn't really expecting it, or wasn't really like
Thinking about
thinking
it, yeah.
about using it. Um, and
Oh, and that's game
Whirlwind
there.
Aura here is the end of the game. But yeah, if that Gore survives, he's definitely able to put a lot of pressure on me. And
You still top deck the Blizzard though, right? You still Blizzard, get like Brio or something. I guess
well, no,
Brio
I
wouldn't
just go
do
for
it.
Goyle
Yeah,
still.
yeah, yeah.
But the thing is, I think he top decked the D prison the same turn that I had the Goyo, right?
That's true.
Or no,
Wait,
he didn't,
no, he didn't. He
because
topped it. It
he had
was a
the
turn
Wabba.
after. Yeah, it was a turn after.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess I would have ended up probably just stealing the gores anyway. I
Yeah,
don't know exactly the order of everything, so it may still have turned out in my favor. But definitely, that was like one of those situations that is like, oh yeah, wait, my guy's in attack position and your guy has lower attack. Even if you use a damage step, you know, collude, my Wabaku is still going to protect my gores. So yeah, I guess it doesn't come up in Gladiator Beast a lot because again, they do, I think gores is probably a pretty common side out. So uh, yeah, I mean it happens, but I also think with oppression, like Blackwings definitely has a pretty good matchup into Gladiator Beast, but it can be very swingy because like Gladiator Beast is commonly going to play a lot of like Starlight Road, a lot of My Body as a Shield, a lot of Trap Stun,
but
cards that definitely do a lot of work
you
against
didn't
Blackwing.
have a value index still.
No.
So you have.
I told you I cited it out.
Oh, you cited it out. Right. Okay.
Yeah,
I was like, wait a minute. There should be a value in there. What are you doing? Okay, got you.
yeah,
All right. Well, I mean, there definitely was some areas of discussion there, bringing some good points about bluffing or sort of thinking about your interactions, like at the judgment. I think the big money shot or the money discussion of the match was when we got into this four back row each, or I guess five back row each exchange, right? So the order in which you use these, that's definitely something to think about. Like with hindsight, if you're in this situation again, you can be like, okay, well, how do I prevent this from going wrong? Type thing.
yeah. I think the other thing is trying to sort of think about how these sort of chain links may arise uh, beforehand. So like during these turns where we're just setting a bunch of cards, I wasn't really thinking. I was kind of just reacting and just playing cards. I was like, oh, he's using a twister on the oppression. And if
Mm,
that happens, that means that Test Tiger is going to resolve and he's going to get a bestiary or something.
of course, yeah,
I should Icarus now. And then he uses Starlight Road, and I'm like, oh, I can't let that happen. I should Judgment now.
yeah,
And it's like, yeah. And oh, he's using an effect to special summon. I should oppression that now. Like, yeah, sure, you can play that way, but I think it's definitely uh, it's important to say like, okay, these are the interruptions I have. What cards am I expecting that he's going to play to sort of provoke me to use these, and and what do I expect that he's got, you know, ready to go? Like, what types of cards do they play that will interact with sort of the way that I'm going to try to interact with him,
hmm
um, and try to figure out like, okay, what's the optimal path?
yeah. I guess the thing for me is that I'd be looking at that set oppression as this is my way to guarantee the Icarus resolves, right? Like I'd be looking at oppression as, okay, I get to negate Starlight Road with this. This is perfect. So my first like instinct would be, okay, we're gonna use the Icarus attack to out those two monsters so that he doesn't get to summon anything, right?
Mhm.
Because that oppression is going to be way more important in the long run. Just like it's basically a free win against this deck. Like as long as that's face up on the field, they don't get to play the game. So I guess first instinct would have been, okay, well if oppression's my way to negate Starlight Road, then I need to force the Starlight Road out. So we're going to go, okay, well I'm going to use the Icarus attack to make sure the Test Tiger doesn't resolve the way that he wants it to. Okay, there's the Starlight Road. Well, there's the oppression. Well, there's the Twister, right? Well, there's the Judgment. So I guess
Well,
there
you
is
also thought you would be able to use the oppression like on the Starlight Road in the same chain, but
that's true, but I still wouldn't have made it the first card that I activate. But not to
against
say
the
that
Test
like,
Tiger.
oh, I'm better because I would have made this decision properly. Just in like the sense that because I would have tunnel visioned on oppression as my way to stop the Starlight Road, my first instinct would have been, okay, well we're gonna use the Icarus attack here. So I guess it is sort of interesting to hear an alternate perspective and also sort of see like, okay, well, in this instance, you know, hindsight obviously 2020 about the order with which you'd want to activate things, but at the same time, you know, in the moment, that royal oppression is correct. You know, it might not be correct because there's four other back row and there's only certain things that you can do, but at the same time, I mean, it wins you the game there. Like it keeps him off those bodies. You still have four sets. Like if oppression resolves there, you didn't have to commit anything. Like you literally didn't have to activate a single one of those four back row, and you still have four back row. Like at that point, the game's just unwinnable for him. So I can understand the justification behind oppression. If that resolves, it's over, and you're still loaded on resources. You get to keep your judgment. You get to keep your Icarus attack. But yeah, I don't know. I guess Edison is a format that rewards hindsight uh, almost better than modern does, right? Because in modern, hindsight is a lot less significant because there's a million other things that you have to know, and a lot of the time when you're making your decisions, you're making it completely ignorant of the possibilities, or there's so many possibilities that it's impossible to keep track. Whereas in Edison, you know, you should know the card pool and you should know what decks look like, especially if you're not brand new.
Yeah, I do think Edison definitely has like obviously there are still new decks coming out and new strategies being developed, but at the same time the card pool is a lot smaller, and a lot of the card pool is like you can pretty much just neglect it. It's the like there's a lot of old bulk cards that just don't do anything, and so really like almost every single tech card has probably been tried. Uh, and so against whatever deck you're playing against, you should have a general idea of like what type of cards they might be playing. So yeah.
Yeah, there is the I have to respect those card pools, which in this case are cards like Starlight Road, are cards like you know, Bottomless, Judgment, um, D Barrier, like you were saying. So just something to keep in mind, I guess. And as we were discussing, you sort of saw the fact that we were just like, oh, yep, that we have to make sure that it's not this, or oh, did we attack here? He has two cards in hand and nothing on field. Do we wait for him to have a set and then just start beat down? Or so, yeah, just I guess something to keep in mind. Obviously, something that we'll see a lot more of going forward in this series, and even going back to the first episode. But yeah, I think that's at least for me all that I feel I need to discuss regarding this match. Did you have any last thoughts that you wanted to say?
No, I mean I think that was it. I'll bring a new deck next time though. I know Blackwing Theory is cool and all, but obviously it's beat to death. So
I'm excited to see what you
definitely
end up
I'll
bringing. I know that you have a
yeah,
variety of Edison decks at your disposal.
I definitely do. I'll bring something spicy.
Awesome. All right, perfect. Well, I'm looking forward to next week's episode then. Thanks for joining me with this.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
I'll see you Sunday.